Let's go. 19A1. Let's go. Gemara. No, we're up to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, we talked about the idea, right? That the Simcha of Yom Tov is something that supersedes, that pushes away all of the halachot of Avelut. So what does that mean? Hakoveret metov, someone buries someone shilosha yamim kodem haregel, 3 days before the holiday. Okay? So let's try and make this easy, because just that way we're in our minds. Let's say 3 days before the holiday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, holiday is on, let's say Wednesday. Okay? So he buries the person 3 days before the holiday. Batela hemenu gzerat shiv'ah. The gezerat shiva, which means the fullness of the 7 days of shiva, they get canceled for him. Shmone, what if the burial was not 3 days before, it was 8 days before, okay? That means that it's already over. The 7 days are over before the holiday begins. Batela hemenu gzerat shiloshim. The deen, the halachot of mourning of 30 days, the minute the holiday comes in, it knocks out the whole of the shiva. Okay? Yeah. Now.
They do an arayat still.
Sorry.
30 days.
We'll deal with the arayat is a minhag, so I'm not so worried about that. Also, it's a non-issue because it's people getting together, learning and making berachot. The mourning element is over. Okay.
So you just said it again. 7 days you did already. You're done.
So if you, let's say 3 days. Really, we'll see. Why does it say 3? We're going to have to cover that. But the point is, the holiday will break the Shiv'ah. Okay? What happens if you finish the whole of the 7 before? It doesn't only break 7, it also breaks the 30 laws, the 30-day laws. Okay? Says the Gemara, but this is only for the holidays, not for Shabbat. Shabbat is included, but it doesn't break. Regalim mafsikim ve'enan olim. Holidays cut the avelut, and they don't count as part of the shiva. Okay, so the language over here is a little bit. What does it mean? It cuts. What does it mean? It counts. What do all these things mean?
Pauses. If there's a Shabbat, it's a pause.
No.
Part of the week.
It doesn't pause, and it counts.
And it counts.
So we'll see what that means.
Right.
Exactly. On a simple level, it means if there's 7 days, Shabbat's in the middle. On the Shabbat day, you still have Avelut, but we don't show Avelut. We'll learn about that soon. So even though it's like a mini Avelut day, mild Avelut, it's one of the 7. We don't say, oh, you missed 1 day, count an extra one on the end, okay? With the holiday, we're going to see, it cuts the Avelut as well. Ve'enan olim, and it doesn't count. What does that mean? It cuts and it doesn't count. How should it count if it cut it?
Right.
So we'll see exactly what that means. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Mi shechara bet hamikdash atzeret kishabat. Once a bet hamikdash was already destroyed, atzeret can mean 2 things. Shemini atzeret, but you know what else in the Torah? Torah is called atzeret. It's also Shavuot. Okay? So atzeret, which is the holiday of Shavuot, is considered kishabat. So remember what that means. What did we just say Shabbat is?
Continuation.
It doesn't break it, but it does count for it. Rabban Gamliel says, Rosh Hashanah v'Yom HaKippurim kiregalim. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur are also part of the same halachot of the festivals that they don't break. Again, we'll have to understand. You told me festivals. Why should I think some are different, some are not different? We'll come to that in the Gemara. Chachamim say, Lo kedivrei zeh, lo kedivrei zeh. We don't hold like him, and we don't hold like him. Okay? We don't hold that Shavuot Shabbat, and we don't hold that Rosh Hashanah Kippur are like Ela Atzeret Kiregalim. Atzeret is not considered like Shabbat; it's considered like a holiday. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim Kishavat. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur are considered like Shabbat. So what would that mean? That means that it would not break it, and it would count as part of it, according to the Chachamim. Says the Gemara. Okay, we're going to start with the concept of the 30 days. The 30-day cancellation. When was that? When you counted more than 7 days before the holiday. So in other words, the 8th day was the holiday. And then we said it breaks the 30 days. Amarav, Gezerat batelu yamim lo batelu. The halachot of Shiloshim, the gezerot of the Shiloshim, of the 30 days of mourning, The morning of the days of mourning is batel. Yamim, but the days themselves are not batel. What does that mean? We'll see in just a minute. So too Rav Huna says, Gizerat batlu, Yamim lo batlu. The obligations of the days of mourning are batel, but Yamim lo batelu. Rav Sheshet Amar, Rav Sheshet says, no, afilu Yamim nami batlu. Even the days are canceled. Gemara says, what are you talking about? Mai ta'ama Yamim lo batelu. What do you mean when you're saying this idea that the days are not canceled? She'im lo gilach erev haregel. What we mean to say is, if a person now did not shave before the holiday that came in, asur legaleach ahar haregel. He's not allowed to shave after the regel. Why? Since we said that the yamim lo batelu, the days are not batel, it means that there's still days of mourning left here. What would that mean in this case?
30 days have to be finished.
You have to count 30 days. You didn't count them during the regel, right? Because there was no mourning at that point in time, right? You had the gezerot are off, but also the yamim are off. They're not, in other words, they're not part of what we're counting. So therefore, the Gemara is explaining that you would count 30 full days after the burial because you backed right in with the Shiv'ah into the holiday. If you didn't shave, which you were allowed to shave, if you didn't shave on the holiday, but up to or including the holiday, you would have to wait 30 days afterwards.
So, Rabbi, are you talking about 32 days in the case of a 2-day holiday? If you're not counting the 2 days towards the 30 days? Or the 2 days are subsumed in the...
No, the 2 days are like a break in the middle, so to speak, and then we're going to count the 30 days afterwards.
Suspension.
Yeah, like a suspension.
If the burial was 8 days before the holiday,
Yes.
you're counting 30 days. Are you counting 32 days or 30 days?
32.
No,
Yeah.
not 32 days.
Suspending those 2 days. Suspend the 2 days the holiday.
But that's like, you would be waiting technically 32 days because you're including them, but you're not waiting 32 days.
No.
You're waiting 30 days. 2 of them don't count as part of the 30. You're starting your 30 days after 2 days.
Right.
So de facto, you waited 32 days. Yes, but it doesn't mean that we're now extending.
Morning.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
The morning's 30 days.
Says the Gemara. Okay. But now we're going to bring
But you have to
a braita to either of these concepts. So now let's look at, now what's the other side now? So let's just go back. Remember, we had Rav that said, Gezerat batelu, Yamim lo batelu. The Rav said that the days are not batel, which means that you're counting those 30 days already from before. Right? Because Yamim lo batelu.
Including
The other opinion says, no, Yamim batelu, which means that they get pushed off. Okay? So, that was the machloket between Rav and the other 2 opinions. V'chen amar Rav Huna, Gzerat Yamim batelu Yamim lo batelu. The other opinion says Yamim nami batelu. So the opinion that says Yamim lo batelu says 30 days full. The opinion that says Yamim nami batelu holds that you don't have to wait those 30 days after because the days were not canceled, they're still ticking, and we would include however many days of the holiday passed by and were part of them. Now I just want to show you how Rashi explains it, because this is very interesting. Rashi says as follows. Rashi, Gizerat Shiloshim batelu, aval yamim lo batelu, Shiloshim yom lo batelu, de'adayin tiluyin ve'omdin. They're just pushed off. They're delayed. Okay, tiluyin ve'omdim. What does it mean? What would it mean that the days, exactly like Morris was asking, if you took away the laws of the days, what does it mean that the days are undone or are done? What do days that have no laws, what does that look like? Gemara answers, when the Gezerat, the laws of Shloshim were undone, and he should have shaved Erev Regel, right? Like we said, but he did not shave. He would have to wait after the Regel for 30 days. Okay? So far we're clear. Now, how do we hold? Says the Braita, V'atanya, hakoveret meto shlosha yomim kodem regel. Someone buries their dead 3 days before the regel. Now, let's just take a peek at Rashi for 1 second. Turn back the page. The first Rashi on the Mishnah. Sorry, not the first. Is the first? Yeah. First Rashi on the Mishnah. Right at the narrow lines at the top of the page. Okay? You see that? So I asked you, if we're talking about breaking Avelut, why did we specifically talk about 3 days in? Why don't we talk about 1 day in? Rashi says, Ho'il v'ikar Avelut ena ela shilosha yamim. The strongest part of the 7 days are the first 3 days. So we talk about is the 3 days that passed, right, before the regel, then the regel comes and breaks the other days. Now, we'll have to understand, was the Gemara meaning to say it specifically that way? I.e., that if it was day 1, day 2, day 3, those are stronger, so the regel can't break them? Is that what it means to say? We'll have to see. But Rashi is telling you, the reason why we talked about 3 days before the break is because the 3 days are the strongest days of Avelut. Okay. V'atanya, we learned in a Braita. Hakoveret meto shlosha yomim kodem l'regel. Someone buries someone 3 days before the holiday. Batelah hemenu gizerat shiva.
2 days, it would be suspended also.
That's the question. So why did it say 3 days? Do we mean to say...
Does it have to be a minimum 3 days mourning?
Exactly, that's the question. Do we mean to say it specifically, or you know, because
1, 2, and 3.
there's another way of looking at it. Maybe actually the Hidush is the other way. In other words, you could say maybe it only breaks if it's at day 4. The other way of looking at it is no. Actually, the only thing it's going to break is we would have thought that it would only break the heavy days, because the heavier Avelut, the holiday can't stand. But the milder Avelut, the holiday could go along with. So you actually could have seen that the law could have went stricter on those days or more lenient on those days. But we do want to point out that the reason why it's 3 and the reason why we're having the conversation around 3 is because of that. Says the Gemara. Batilah hemenu, 3 days before, now he comes in on day 4 to the holiday, Batilah hemenu gizirat shiva. The rest of the days of mourning and the restrictions are a batil. But if he finishes the 7 before, so the shiloshim began, right, because it was 7 and then the holiday. Here, it's 8 and then the holiday. Meaning day 1, 8, day 8 is day 1 of shiloshim. Batilah hemenu gizirat shiloshim. The holidays of the restrictions of the Shiloshim Yom are batil from the holiday. Umegaleach erev haregel. So what does that mean? Since the 30 days are going to be batil from the holiday, he's able to shave right before the holiday. What if im lo gilach erev haregel? But if he did not shave erev the holiday, asur galeach achar haregel. He's not allowed to shave after the regel. For how long? As we said, the duration of the 30 days. So that's exactly what we just saw, the first 2 opinions, right? Gezerat batilu, yamim lo batilu. The days did not become undone. However, Abba Shaul Omer, but Abba Shaul says he was also a Tana in the Braita. Mutar legaleach achar regel. No, you're allowed to shave after the regel, even if you didn't shave before. Why? Shekeshem shemitzvat shilosha mivatelet gezerat shiva. Just like if a person did the mitzvah of the 3 days of mourning before, and then the regel comes, it knocks out the avelut of the extra 4 days, so it breaks the shiva. Kach mitzvat shiva mevatelet gezerat shiloshim. So too, the 7 days that I did before, then the regel comes along. The regel will allow me to break off the rest of the shloshim, and I have nothing to worry about, and I'm even able to shave after the holiday if I did not shave before.
And not do the shiloshim.
Okay? Abba Shaul, by the way, I don't know if you've ever had this before. I was in Turks and Caicos. You were on that trip.
Yes.
Do you remember the Shammers had Avelut right before the holiday?
No. Which Shammers?
Alan Shammer. I think maybe his brother passed away.
Yeah, his brother.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So they had the Arayat on the last day of Chol HaMoed or something in their villa. Remember that? So that's a perfect example of exactly this concept. You have a Shiv'ah right before. If they sit Shiv'ah for 20 minutes before the holiday, they started Shiva. The holiday comes along, smashes the Shiva. There's no Shiva.
So that answers the 3-day thing.
We'll talk. Yeah, that's why I raised it, because we say that even if you did one day, what happens? The holiday knocks it out.
Someone recently did that.
That's
when
what
they
we
were going to
follow.
Israel.
There was just someone. Exactly. Yes, there was just someone. I remember.
35 years ago, Reuben Justice, who funded while you and Shari Sedek died, we buried him an hour before Yom Kippur, and that was the whole Shiva.
And that's the whole Shiva. Now, ironically, you should know. You know what's funny? What's funny is that the people who go through that will tell you that even though at the time it makes their life much easier,
Much harder.
because they have no Shiva, but you wind up paying. You wind up paying in the long run. Because the Shiva process is the most cathartic experience that a person could have for that loss. When you go right into the holiday and there's no Shiva at all, the person has no time to process, to have all the talking that they go through, everyone coming telling the stories, right? So it's the halacha is not immediately you're thinking, oh, brilliant, let's just do it. You know, sometimes I tell people, maybe we shouldn't rush. Because what happens if they don't sit Shiva before the holiday?
They have to Shiva after the holiday.
Then they delay the whole Chag, but then they sit full Shiva right after the holiday.
But then you're in, what's it called?
No, sitting Shiva.
You could do that.
There is a ways. Yeah, there are ways. Okay? So now the concept here, you understand the
Are you
concept?
still in the middle zone?
You meet a guy who you know that the trauma is gonna destroy them. Don't be so smart that you're rushing to catch it, because actually it would be very good for them, especially in scenarios. I'll just give you an example. In Israel right now, you have someone who's getting killed in the most traumatic way in war, right? It's absolutely necessary for these people to have that process, and sometimes you have to be, as a rabbi, you have to be very smart to be able to recognize what would be better for the people and what's worse for the
Extra
people.
mourning is not allowed.
It's not extra.
Not extra, but
It's not extra,
if you're
didn't
allowed
start.
Not to mourn, you're putting mourning on.
No,
you.
I didn't, because they didn't start yet. So in other words, if someone, like as an example, what happens if someone dies?
the right to end
What
the
happens if someone
process.
passes away on the holiday?
You don't start yet.
Automatically, the Shiva gets deferred,
Yes.
right? So they bury him on the spot, Shiva gets deferred. So it's the same like that. The fact that the person was buried before, it's only if you sat Avelut that you get out of it, so to speak, by the festival.
So you're saying there are items
Huh?
that are
The
given?
Shloshim Batel, when it ends in with the 8th, and then the 8th day before, and then it ends the 30.
Yeah.
Do they stop like the 30-day customs and things? Like does someone say Kaddish for the 30 days or no more Kaddish for the 30 days?
No, Kaddish is untouched.
They still say for the 30 days.
Yeah.
It's just the morning.
It's the Avelut. Yes. Yeah.
In
Okay.
the case that I was at, and the 30 days were ended by the first day of Sukkot, 4 days.
That's
all loose.
that's the gas. The gas here is when you have the first holiday knock out the Shiva, and the second holiday knock out the Shloshim.
The guy died?
What? Sorry.
The guy really died? He's still alive.
So the first holiday knocking out the Shiva doesn't knock out the Shloshim?
No.
The second.
Because you didn't get
But the
8.
second might. Now again, remember, Shavuot only has one.
And this is all for the joy of
Don't
God.
get mixed up with this,
Yeah.
by the way, yet, because there's the halakha we have to get.
So we're gonna get
Because don't let this is all traffic, all distraction.
yes, that the joy of the holiday doesn't allow for the sadness of Avilut. Yeah. Okay.
As long as we're talking about 2 days of Shavuot, in Yiddish, Rabbi Soloveitchik tells this joke about a procrastinator. He's waiting for Chol HaMoed Shavuot to do whatever he needs to do.
You should just know.
That's an Ashkenaz item.
You should just know it's not a simple item, because Al Pi Kabbalah, there's all sorts of gas. That really the whole of Sfirat HaOmer,
It says we do.
the whole of Sfirat HaOmer is really Chol HaMoed.
Really?
And that's why Shavuot is called Atzeret, because just like Shmini Atzeret is the end of Sukkot, Shavuot is the end of Pesach.
When I asked about
Now think about it. Sukkot has 8 days.
Yeah.
Shavuot, Pesach has 7. Shavuot is to Pesach what Shmini Atzeret is to. So they're both really a Shmini Atzeret. Okay, either way. So there is a Chol Moed just pre. Okay, let's continue. Abba Shaul continues and he says as follows. So now we're talking about the cancellation that we talked about of the Shloshim by the holiday. Shiva, says the Gemara, what do you mean after Shiva? Let's look again. Abba Shaul says, Shekishem shemitzvat Shilosham mevatel gzerat Shiva, kach mitzvat Shiva mevatel gzerat Shloshim. So too does the 7 days before allow for the holiday to knock out the Shloshim. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Up until now, what did we say? We talked about 8 days, not about 7 days. Remember? We said 8 days before the holiday. Shiva v'hanan shimonatenan. We said in our Mishnah that the only way it cancels it is if you did 8 days of the Shiva, of the mourning situation. You started the 30, now it could kill the rest of the 30. But you're telling me that if I did 7, it could kill the 30 before the 30 started? How could that be? Gemara says, Kasavar Abba Shaul, huh?
30 would start on the holiday itself.
And that should make it deferred.
Should defer it.
You see? Kasavar Abba Shaul, Miktzate Yom Kikulo. Abba Shaul holds of this halacha of part of a day is already considered like the whole day. When do we use that? That's always the last day of Shiva.
Get up.
Right, get up.
Part of the 30 days is also on that 7th day.
Sorry?
You had part of the 30 days on the 7th day because you ended the Shiva on the 7th
Yes.
day. You still
No,
have
but that
5
day
hours
counts as a
left.
day, though.
You still have 5 hours of day left.
So 1 minute, we did the 7 before, but the evening of the holiday going in, that's already now Miktzat Yom Kikulo. That's seeming what he's saying. The Yom Shvi'i, ready for this? Olelo lekanu lekan. That's the Hidush, crazy. Watch. Day 7, what is it we say? The guy gets up in the morning. Right? So, and why? What's the logic of it? Miktzat Yom Kikulo. So, it's as if I have the whole day. Says Abba Shaul, if I had the whole day, so 7 days are over, you're telling me. So right now, this day is day 8.
7 plus.
Counts as the first day.
It's a double dip today.
That's what I was trying to say. It's a part
That's
of the
weak.
daylight counts towards the 30.
It's a double dip. That's called olelo lekan ulekan. It counts both ways. We count it as the last of the 7 and the first of the 8. Wild. Okay? I want to just give you one piece on this. I'll never forget this Hidush.
Do we follow that?
We'll come to it. We'll come to it. There are times where we do this. Okay. Now, let me just explain. And I'll never forget this Hidush that someone shared with me. In the story of Misraim, right? We know that what's going on, Makkah, Dam, Sefardeh, Kinim, Arov, Devesh, Shechin, comes Barad. What does Moshe Rabbeinu say? He says to all the people, listen, if you care about your animals, bring them in. Because I'm bringing the Barad down, I'm raining hellfire down on the thing, yeah? And any animals that are out here are going to die. Says the Gemara, says the Pasuk, excuse me, Hayared Devar Adonai, the guy who feared the word of God, Heniset behemto, he brought his animals in. So there's a famous question. Hayared Devar Adonai. I always think of this commercial. You remember there was a commercial with James Earl Jones? Remember? It was a commercial for the Yellow Pages. Stanley, let me tell you what the Yellow Pages are. Yellow Pages are back. They advertise businesses. What was the advertising? You are too young for that.
You sit on it when you need to get a little height in the car.
Yeah, you Baruch Hashem. You're way too young for that. You know what it is. Okay.
In the car, when you're short, put the yellow.
Yeah. Yellow Pages back. By the way, if you want to know what killed all of the trees in the world, Yellow Pages. Everybody got a book like this, okay? Crazy. You think about, who can even think about that? A phone book like this.
The
Now,
white pages and the yellow.
and both of them. Now, so listen to this. So the Yellow Pages, James Earl Jones said, all the business, everyone advertised the Yellow Pages. There was no one who was not in the Yellow Pages. So what does he say? He goes, what was his advertisement? He says, if someone told you that, that there was a 99.9% chance of rain, would you bring an umbrella? Right? He says 99.9% of businesses advertise in the Yellow Pages. Right? So you got to use it, that's what he was saying. Okay? Here's the kicker for me. The guy is batting 1,000. He tells you, Dam, Dam.
Just went to 7
Sifadeh. Kinim. Arab. Deve. Shechin. He comes in, he says, Barad, I'm killing everything. Tomorrow morning, it's going to come from all the animals, bring your animals in. That, you're called the Yared Devar Amonai, you're called the James Earl Jones. You're just 99.99%ing it.
But some people might have.
Still didn't believe.
That's not Yared Devar Amonai.
Still didn't
But
believe
some
it.
people might have an internal
Disbelief.
resistance, dafka.
So regardless, the
Maybe they thought it would
the
affect
guy,
the Egyptian animals.
sorry?
Maybe they thought it would affect
But
only
Moshe
the
is telling
Egyptians.
them.
No, he's telling the Egyptians. So
he's telling the Egyptians?
yeah, the Egyptian guy who brings in his animal, he's a Yared Devar Amonai. He's not a Yared Devar Amonai. He likes Wagyu beef. He doesn't want his animal to be, a crispy critter. That's not Yared Devar Amonai. That's the question, okay? Listen to this. I heard from the most unbelievable Devar Torah, which changed my perspective on a lot of things. It was from the rabbi who was Rav Simonik Diskin, a tremendous Ilui genius from Eretz Israel.
The Rav Diskin orphanage.
Related, not the same one, related. Anyway, what did he say? He said, it's a great point. Great point. Moshe says the things you can bring the animals in. Great point. He says, which guy has room in his house for all of his cattle? Now that I know that this is how I saved him, now what am I going to do? I don't have room for my cows and sheep and whatever. So what they do? They went back to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, what are we going to do? Moshe Rabbeinu told them, let me tell you how to construct a halachic house. You put an eruv over here, right?
And now it's all part of your house.
And now it's all part of your house.
Wow. That's good.
We have land.
You know how much Yared Devar Amonai you have to have to believe that the string around it is going to be considered like a house, and then the things are falling down, and it's not going to save the animals because there's a string and it's considered a house.
Nice.
You got that? That's Yared Devar Amonai. Beautiful. That's this.
Nobody did that.
That's this. Look at me, counting it twice. 7th day, 30th, which day is it? The halacha says it's nimna lekanu lekan. So when the halacha tells you that that's the reality, I'm the one that told you 7 days. And I'm telling you, this is how you count days. The same law. Who told you that a day starts the night before? Now it doesn't work that way on my watch. But if you broke Shabbat, Friday night, they're going to kill you. Why? Because the Torah says, Vahi Erev, Vahi Voker. You know how a Jew counts a day? From sunset. What normal person counts a day from sunset? Only us. But that's the point. Yared Devar Amonai. So that's the concept of counting it. Yaret lekanu lekan. Abba Shaul says Yaret. That's how you tell me? Fine. Okay. Now, turns out, so we have Abba Shaul and we have the other opinion. But the Gemara is going to point out now that there's actually more than one machloket between Abba Shaul and the Chachamim. Right? What are the two elements? Number one, if a person has to wait 30 days if they didn't shave before, right? Because Abba Shaul says it breaks it. He's that opinion. And therefore there's no 30 days after. That's the first machloket. And the second part of the machloket is, does half a day count as a whole day? Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Chizda Amar Ravina Bashela. Rav Chizda said in the name of Ravina Bashela. Halacha ke Abba Shaul. The halacha is according to Abba Shaul. And we rule like him. Lekan ulekan. 7, that day is the first day of the Shiloshim. You're already counting it. Even though it's really the end of the day. That is really the 7th day, but you just didn't count it because of Miksat Yom Kikulo. But once that day is already over, so now I'm over with Shiva. Not me. Someone is over with Shiva. So now you can start the 30 days. Says the Gemara.
You get up at the end of the day.
Sorry?
You get up at the last minute of the 7th day.
No.
Let's say you do.
No, it's not the halacha. Halacha is Miksat Yom Kikulo. That's why they get up on the beginning of 7th day.
To be able to use the days at one of the 30 days?
It's not in order to. Since Miksat Yom Kikulo, the guy already sat 7 days.
Okay.
Why? Because he sat a little. Right. You know what always bothered me?
You're not supposed to sit more than
What always bothered me is Miksat Yom Kikulo, so why don't we say that already about the nighttime?
Right, because the nighttime is the daytime. It's the next day.
Right,
so why don't we say Miksat Yom, sit 10 minutes after stars out, Miksat Yom Kikulo, right?
The G, coffee G has to get paid the next day for the bagels, the breakfast, that G, you know.
I don't-
200 a day, she wipes you out. That's why.
Classic. By the way, you know what you should tell her? According to the halacha, yesterday I paid you. That's today and it counts for two. Okay, it's counted for this and it counted for this. We'll have to come back to it. Okay? Now, says he says says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Okay? So umodim. So halacha ki Abba Shaul. Umodim chachamim la Abba Shaul. Not only do we rule like Abba Shaul, the chachamim also agree with him. כשחל שמיני שלו להיות בשבת ערב הרגל. If the 8th day is Shabbat. So now remember, you counted 7 days from his avelut. You got to, what's the last day? Is Friday. The 8th day now is Shabbat.
That's the second day.
Seventh day of his Shiva.
No, it's the second day of the 30.
Friday's the 7th day.
Shemuta legaleach be'erev Shabbat.
He shaves on day 7.
But
Shabbat?
before Shabbat. What day is that?
30, first of the
No.
30th, the 7th.
Yes, the 7th day.
No,
First of the 30th.
no.
You're saying 6 plus.
It's 6 plus.
We're saying it's the 7th
So we're giving
day.
it the 7th day.
Remember, Shabbat, that's the 8th day, right?
Yeah.
So,
Friday morning is the 7th day.
right, so Friday before Shabbat is what time? Is what day?
It's the last day of the Shiva.
The last day of the Shiva.
Get up in the morning.
Okay? So, if you don't agree to me that miktzat hayom kekulo,
Then
you can't shave. You're middle of Shiva.
Right.
You see? That's the nikudah.
It has to be
So
okay.
you see an expression of them agreeing to half a day is like a whole day. Because otherwise, according to them, he's in the middle of the 7th day. He's not finished. Right?
So they're saying now it's the 7th.
Knockout, Gemara. Okay. So, מודיע חכמים לבא שאול, כשחל שמיני שלו, להיות בשבת ערב הרגל, שמותר לגלח בערב שבת. Says the Gemara, כמן אז לה, דאמר רב עמרם אמר רב, this, Rav Amram said in the name of Rav, ההלכה. אבל, כיוון שעמדו, מנחמים מאצלו, מותר ברחיצה. Let's say Avel has the people that are sitting, that are coming to do Bimenachem Avel, they get up from him. They're done. Everyone's gone. Mutar berachitza. He's then allowed to bathe on the 7th day, post the people coming to give him Nichum Avelim. Keman, who's that going according to Abba Shaul? It's going according to Abba Shaul. Since he observed a part of the 7th day, then the Shiva is over. But it's interesting over here. The Gemara makes, sorry?
Wouldn't we get him
Bathe.
up at-
Bathe.
Wouldn't we get him up on that time anyway?
Bathe what?
Wouldn't we lift him up at that time after the visitors leave on the last day? Wouldn't he be getting up?
That's this.
Right, that's what I'm asking. So wouldn't he bathe anyway?
The getting up is this.
Wouldn't he bathe?
That's this halacha.
Isn't he allowed to bathe at that point anyway?
Yes, because yeah, you're like asking, how can we do it? This is the item. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So
Now, one second. Let me just point out, one second, that the Gemara actually makes it conditional. What did this just add on top of Abba Shaul?
They need a visit that morning.
right.
There's a court
He's
condolence.
mourning that
Yeah,
day.
you do.
When the consolers leave, then you could. What happens? I have
don't come that
Chatty Cathy. Had that sitting here. She don't want to. She don't want to leave. You can't go.
Still in Shiva.
You're still in Shiva. Not wild.
Yeah.
Kick her out. Fine, but once you kicked her out,
Go take a shower.
that's amidu menachamim. It doesn't say by their own volition or because of you. But until they get up, the person is still there. I would have thought that it's a time halacha. Like the minute I tick past that certain time, or someone ticks past that certain time, miktzat yom kikulo.
let's say the
But Rav
7th
Amram
day-
just added something extra.
So let's say the 7th day is the 8th, is the also the 1st of the 30. Let's say the holiday starts Friday night.
What do you mean the holiday?
Friday night starts a holiday. Starts regular, one day. I don't know what holiday, any holiday.
The 8th day would have been Shabbat.
So the 8th day would have been Shabbat.
Shabbat, it's
Seventh
also a
day.
holiday.
7th day is Friday night.
Shabbat's also a holiday.
7th day is Friday.
Shabbat's
Yeah.
Kippur.
So now you break the thing.
Shabbat's
and
Wait.
it counts-
I'm not understanding the case first.
Okay.
Shabbat is also Kippur.
Yes,
Let me
okay.
break it down.
7th day Friday morning is Erev Kippur. You get
Yeah.
up Friday morning, you're done for the 7th day. Right? It also counts as the first day of the 30 days.
But then
But the
next day's
regular would
holiday.
break the 30 days.
So the question is, how much, you know what this is called? Stackable coupons. Remember that? You have a coupon for 20% off, you got another coupon for 30% off, and another buy one, get one free. Are you allowed to stack the coupons?
Yes.
Because look, he already told us, Abba Shaul, that you could have both ways. You could have nimne lekanu lekan. But Abba Shaul did not tell us, he did not tell us, that in a case where it falls out that the 8th day is Shabbat. He gave us an 8th day Shabbat Erev Regel. That means that Erev Regel is Motzei Shabbat. Yes. That's what he gave us. We did not yet hear from him that if the 8th day, if the Regel is the 8th day, that we did not hear from him.
That's Joey's question.
Yeah. But that's the next level of doubling up on your coupons. Okay? Now, says the Gemara.
It's a great book.
Kiman azela. Kiman azela. Okay, let's go according to Abba Shaul. Kiman, that he holds that way. Let's just. I want to just plug in for 1 second to this. I know, but I have to. My son's graduation is today. I had the craziest thing. It's my anniversary, and we went to the hospital and had a graduation, and we're trying to get the kids on an emergency flight home from Israel. It's one of those days. And I had the ladies' class, and we're talking about it now.
200 guys. There's also a charter tomorrow.
Okay, fine. So I just wanted to just show you the last piece. Kivan sha'amedu menachamim me'etzlo. You see that? Rashi says it's the third narrow line.
This morning part of the Gemara is where it's dealt with in Moed Kattan, right? There's no other Gemara that does the morning?
No.
It's all dealt in here?
Yeah, almost all here. Other places in Shas as well, but predominantly in this perek.
Wow,
Yes. Okay. So you see that? Kivan sha'amedu menachamim me'etzlo. When the mourners get up from being with him, when is that? What is that? Hainu b'yom zayin. All he says is, that's the 7th day, which is really our question. So then why did you word it that way, which makes it sound like I need to wait for that actually to end, okay? So that's a interesting thing. Rashi, you would have thought that he would have said to us that it means that, but we don't get that from him, yeah? Okay, let's continue. We'll wrap here.
19B2 top.
19B2, yeah, okay.
Top, right?
Yeah.
Top.
Thursday wedding.
Happy anniversary.